Recording. All right, so this is the second part of our three-part episode, 9-minute episodes on Hardfire Media Liberal Discussions, Coronavirus, and the Great Suppression. I think this says the new coronavirus or whatever it is, and this says the Great Suppression or whatever it says. Derek had made the point that this situation.
This is supposedly unprecedented, but I was surprised with the speed at which our elected officials had a huge framework of restrictions in place for a supposedly unprecedented situation.
Just like the central bank for World War I. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I was using that analogy, but it just seemed like they were a little too ready to start imposing restrictions in an escalating manner.
Yeah. Derek, I think Bradley wanted to comment on that.
Okay, I'd like to preface the fact that I understand that we're in extraordinary times, but I agree with Derek wholeheartedly that I don't think the government's restrictions are going to contract after it's over with. It seems to me that whenever the government takes a little bit of power, never gives it back. And that concerns me. What also concerns me is how easily Americans are willing to give up their constitutional rights for a little bit of safety. We all know the quote, right?
Which one? Yeah. I smell a rat, Patrick Henry, why he refused to go to the convention.
I think it was a Benjamin Franklin quote. But no, people are giving up their constitutional rights, free speech. Can't do that anymore. They're trying to take away the Second Amendment. They're taking away our right to gather in public.
Habeas corpus, that's something that, for instance, Gore Vidal makes a lot of mention. But this is going back at the turn of the century, right? Since Bush started, with
Bush
the whole
Jr.?
Homeland Security,
Definitely.
right?
Bush, yeah, right. Well, what caused 9/11 was the blowback to having troops in Saudi Arabia, right?
Mm.
In the Muslim Holy Lands. So what were you saying, Francisco?
No, I was just saying that Bradley is right, and that's a very important point to keep in mind, because this has been going on for some time, and now with this pandemic. But like what Derek was saying, that the government had to step in, because otherwise, if they let this thing play out, then probably I don't know if you can be comparing to what happened during the flus,
Spanish flu.
Spanish flu. But you're talking about. I was listening to Eichengreen, the economic historian.
Very Eichengreen.
And given the numbers, back then you had 50 million people died, and right now we are not, at those levels. So
Exactly.
Yeah, we're at 0.01% or even less than that.
But in contrast to 1918, don't you think that with the availability of information that we have today, that just with the broad spread of understanding, that many would rationally, voluntarily restrict themselves and change their behavior and alter their business model?
Yeah, which brings up a point that I'd like to interject now about what Taiwan and Sweden are doing. So we're going to pause recording, and I'm going to put up some graphics. Okay, so I wasn't able to find the graphics, but the Foundation for Economic Education finds that both Sweden and Taiwan, the states have not cracked down, and like our current governor or whoever it is, you can't put it, everyone has to wear a mask and all of that. They haven't done that in Taiwan and Sweden. So continue on what we were talking about.
I think it's hard to make a comparison at this point because it's still an active situation. So it's to say that one country is doing better or worse, or one state is doing better or worse based on their behavior. I think it's too early because it's still a very live situation. And
Yeah.
there's also the variables.
The variables I'd like to bring up there, and I don't mean to dominate the conversation, is that like People's Republic of China, the United States, and Russia are all big imperialist wannabes with the Department of Homeland Security, the motherland. Isn't that what, you know, you're always out of ideas when you mention Hitler, but the motherland, Department of Homeland Security. But so Sweden and Taiwan are not imperialist wannabes. So I think that would be one of the variables Derek was referring to.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or just the variable in terms of the degree of voluntary compliance and the degree to which there's a trust or faith in what we're being told by the experts or media or by the politicians as advice.
Yeah, it's important to have many different sources of media at this time, right?
And we fall into two camps here. We either we believe everything and we follow it, or we totally reject it because it's all lies. So we don't have very much in between.
That's what I meant by this thing is it's a dialectic where you got the pandemic and then the economic crackdown and what's the resolution, right? That's the scary part.
Yes, right now?
Huh?
Is that the question we have to answer right now?
No, you don't have to answer anything. Should we just go back, keep going on the script?
Sure.
Yeah, so we're right. What do these countries have in common? They are not huge imperialist wannabes like USA, PRC, and Russia. Maybe as a result of this crisis, it'll be more like after the fall of Rome, where society and the economy becomes more decentralized. Or it could just be the continual, familiar, gradual decline of empire, like Rome, like the UK. What do you think of that? I'm talking about America.
I will jump into that because I mean, also one of the things that I think has been mentioned is the fact that situation in the past was very different, and now we have all this technology, right? And it's making the control over society through the whole, surveillance. I mean, it's impressive, the degree, and you can also, compare it to other countries. For instance, in South Korea, right, that people are voluntarily.
All right. So, Francisco, let's pick it up with what you're talking about, South Korea. See you in 5 minutes.
Okay.